Hi everyone, it's Morgan. Today we're back with The Roottrees Are Dead, where we investigate this mysterious family because a woman barged into our house and told us to do so. So far we've identified 9 of the family members, so we have the head of the family here with Elias Roottree and his wife Gwyneth. And we also have the Roottrees sisters, which are kind of the characters of the cover of the game, and their father and mother, Carl and Brenda. We'll also learn about the music stars of the family, James and Diamond and their kids, and the actress Gwyn. So the mysterious lady has brought us a lot more evidence to look at. And let's see who we can find today. Okay, so we have this campaign mailer. Vote for Stephanie Jones for City Council. This was buried under a ton of other mail that Carl left in his inbox. It had a handwritten note attached that seemed personal. It's a flyer about a candidate for local office, Stephanie Jones. On the back is an excerpt from a newspaper article from the Butler County Times about her campaign. Stephanie may have grown up in an unconventional family to say the least, but in her words it was still full of love. And now, 22 years later, with a baby of her own due around Christmas, her message for votes is simply, love is our future. The handwritten note says, Carl, I know we don't see eye to eye when it comes to the candy company, but if you could talk to your girls about putting out a statement supporting Stephanie, she could use the publicity your daughters bring. Don't let our conflict spread to the next generations. CM. Could she be then related to someone else in the family? CM, so not someone who's named Roottree, but that could be because they're related from their mother and therefore the surname could be different. Well, let's collect their faces. And I guess nothing here. We all have this magnifying glass score. We looked at that last day. The higher this number, supposedly the more important, like the more clues we can get from a specific piece of evidence. I have this picture here. This photo has a note attached from your employer. Here's a bonus. When they pulled the water damaged picture of the free spirits out of the frame, this fell out too. Written on the back of the photo is, couldn't make the reunion, wishing you well from Paris, Gwyn and the boys. Okay, so we know about Gwyn, but we don't know about the boys. We also have the free spirits. I've not quite used this notebook. I don't know, it uses a lot of the screen space, and then when I pin something, I don't seem to be able to write on it. So I want to make note about the thing. I guess I type in here, but then when I have multiple notes, I can't then attach that note to something I already pinned before. So I've not yet quite figured out how to best use it. Well, we'll see where that goes. But yes, as I read here, I will just pin some things that I may want to research in a little bit. I have this picture. This photo was tucked inside an envelope with a letter beneath a candle in the corner of his office. The letter says, To Carl and Brenda, I'm sorry that you were unable to attend the funeral. It's traditional to have it as soon as possible with Ernie. More than anyone else on earth knew how busy your job can be. I have enclosed a Shiva candle identical to ours if you'd like to pay your respects, though it's not expected for those outside of the faith to do so. Ernie was a one full of love, not only for his family, but for his family's legacy. He had an immense amount of pride for the work you three did together, as well as how Carl has carried on for him after taking over. As for myself, it's impossible to express my gratitude enough for rescuing us from the panic and burden of endless bills. Though we caught it too late for him to get on the donor list, the company took care of us beyond our wildest expectations. It went unsaid at the time, but Ernie and I knew it had to have been Carl that convinced the trust, and that it was no coincidence that it happened shortly after your visit, Brenda. Last time we talked about how Carl is the 5th president of the company, even though he's only in the 4th generation. So I guess it's because Ernie was the president before, but he got unwell. The little thing underneath is just linked to the evidence we found it in. Okay, that's what this means. I'm learning. Did we collect their faces? No. So I assume this would be Ernie's wife and daughter, maybe. We have lots of faces. Every 20 or so years, the Roottrees would hold a big reunion and recreate an old family photo. This is the one from the 70s, and Carl's the teenager in the middle. Sorry about the water damage, a pipe burst in Carl's office. On the back of the photo, in childish print writing, it says November. There are also a large number of cursive signatures. They include Bonnie, next President Guy Hudson, Ernie Jr., Caroline, Gwyneth M., Gwendoline, Miracle Jr., Jim Roottree, Clark, Carl, and Ellie M. Well, this is gonna be interesting because yeah, some of them are like named after someone else in the family and juniors and whatever, so we're gonna have to sort them out. Now I assume we can collect every single face in this picture. And hair as well. So this is Carl. I presume it says he's in the middle. I don't know about the rest of them. Oh, this one says the free spirits. Oh, so I guess Gwyn was writing about how she couldn't come to the reunion at the time. Okay, there's lots of names here, but I'm not gonna pin them out because that's not gonna lead to anything. Possibly November is of some importance, and this has updated in terms of what we've done so far. Now, one thing I found interesting is that we're supposed to be completing this tree so they can ascertain who's still left in the family and therefore who has rights to the money, the legacy, all like that. But one thing we're not filling in about these people is whether they're alive or dead. Because obviously if you're dead, you don't get the money. Which is just... The dev may have not wanted to add that layer to the game, and that's totally fine. But it's just something that I've thought about because, yeah, like you're interested in who's alive, right? If you're looking for this information. But again, it might just not be part of the game, and I'm just reaching. Okay, so that's him here from this other picture. We've got him there. Apparently she's got an alternative picture available, but she wouldn't be in any of those. Now we need to figure out which threads we want to pursue. Actually, we still have a few notable Rootrees that we haven't looked up, so maybe just start here. Lauren Roottree. Author Lauren Roottree, assistant relative of the Roottree sisters, is known for her book A Life Between Wars. Let's pin it and we will look it up in a bit in the library. According to a website about famous authors, in the early 1960s, Lauren released a few romance novels under her married name, Lauren Rafferty. Too little fanfare. When her publisher learned she had been keeping diaries about her famous family, they insisted she release them under her original name, Lauren Roottree, to take advantage of her family notoriety. The selection of diary entries released in 1965, A Life Between Wars, spans from the untimely death of her husband in World War II to coping with the post-war world as a young widow and mother, as well as her perspectives on changing times and socialites all the way through the entry into Vietnam. While the content is not considered particularly relevant to modern audiences, it has found new life as an exercise in high school English classes to show an evolution in writing style and for a look into the previous generations. After the success of her diaries, her publisher re-released her romance novels under the name Lauren Roottree. This included Romance in Court, which gained popularity. She followed the re-release up by writing 2 new sequels, creating what fans referred to as the Court Jester series. You find no recent details about Lauren, although she is listed as retired. Now, in my look at everything mind, I of course want to just start clicking on the random titles and now see what other ways the game is gonna be like, hey, stop just going down random rabbit holes. Okay, well, nothing here. We can look up her books in the library. Okay, we've got lots of printing happening. It seems you've hit a jackpot here. This is a book occasionally taught in schools. Do you ever find a hardcover edition for a student that has full-page, high-quality pictures in it? A summary of the contents of the book, photos, as well as some particularly relevant entries from the diary have been added in your evidence. Okay, well, we have 7 new things in evidence, but let's just have a little snoop on her other book. Okay, I've looked up her romance book, and well, you know, there's anything about really the book. It does mention that she's sister to Clancy. I think we've heard of Clancy before. Like, I think he was the lawyer for the family because he came up with this whole trust. But yeah, we can get into it in a bit. Because the problem with this, knowing the siblings, is that on the board they need to be entered, well, into the right place, right? It's based on age, and then they already are attached to their spouses, everything like that, so we can't just like pin them in the board in the right generation. We have to know which space they will be going to. Okay, let's see what we've got here. We have a life between wars. So again, we can pin their faces. The below are notes and observation you made while skimming through Lauren Roottree's diary pages in A Life Between Wars. Lauren Roottree, okay, she's notable. The book was published in 1965 and consists of diary entries that stretch from 1940 to 1965. The most important event that much of the diary and Lauren's thoughts revolve around was the loss of her husband Jacob. Jacob died in the final months of World War II while Lauren was pregnant. Okay, let's pin Jacob too. This left her to raise her son Clark alone. Okay, I can see how maybe using those pages might be best if we generate them by one kind of thread, so then we know all the information is related, but I already pinned the Ernie and the Free Spirit stuff onto it. Lauren never remarried, they only had one child. Okay, so that will help us maybe narrow her down on the board, as yes, she will be the one with husband and one child. And notable as well. By skimming the pages of the diary, you gleaned the following information. She was the granddaughter of Elias and Gwyneth on her father's side. Her mother's family was called the Cossells, but she hardly ever mentions them. Okay. Her father, who she always refers to as Pop, was the head lawyer of the Roottree Candy Company and helped write a legal document called the Clan's Trust. Okay, so her father was the lawyer, which, I mean, doesn't preclude them all both having the same name, her brother and her father, because they like to do that. It's clear from context that Rootrees have internal shorthand names for the different generations in their family. Lauren uses them often. 5 pieces, the first generation of children, by Gwyneth and Elias. Lauren's father was in Dad's generation. The next generation is Lauren's generation, and the Free Spirits is the generation after Lauren, including her son. Okay, so that's what that was referring to. So I want to add this to a new page. If I pick this whole thing, yep, and I pin this, and I pin this. So this is the family structure. Okay, and this is just random notes about, so I can delete this from here. And I will leave Ernie for later. We will investigate him separately then. And this one I'm gonna just title Lauren. Okay. Oh, there's multiple pages to this one. Hopefully I didn't miss some other pages in different ones. Now, there's a lot of information here, but the value of this thing is 2. So I might be spending a lot of time reading for a little payout. An entry entitled Complaints from Lauren Rootree's diary written in 1953. This entry seems to focus specifically on one of Lauren's family members, Gwyn, who is on the notable Roottrees list. It seems everyone has something to complain about. Gwyn, as an only child, complained of loneliness. I told her that being expected to watch after 3 young brothers didn't feel like a blessing, but it fell on deaf ears. During the summer where I went to stay with her and at Aunt Margot, I hoped she would be sister I've never had, and that I'd do the same for her. I even tried to dye my hair blonde to fit in with the 2 of them. What a mess. But she just complained. To her, I was the lucky cousin. Okay, so we have Margot is the name, Gwyn's mother. Now she's living the glamorous life while I'm stuck here with Clark. I must admit, seeing her everyone contributes to my unhappiness. Her visage stares at me even now from my coffee table. She gets to be in Starlet and tell tales of how she gallivants around the world, kissing the likes of Harrison Lane and Wild Bill Williams. She's kissing the likes of Harrison Lane. Now, I might have cut this in the last episode, but I went on a whole tangent about how Gwyn may have married a co-star and Harrison Lane was named, but then I started looking him up and apparently he married his high school sweetheart, so was he doing kissing Gwyn then? Maybe that's just Lauren's imagination here, being jealous and stuff. She's the first Roottree woman to be anything other than a housewife, and I am jealous. If I were not a single mother, could I make my own way in this world? But I'm off topic. A girl with all the luck in the world was jealous of me, and now, though I have been doubly burdened by terrible tragedy, I am also lucky to be born into a family that can support me for eternity. I can raise a child without worry, unlike countless other widows. If any of them were to hear me complaining, they would rightfully scoff just like I do at Gwyn. An entry entitled Dynasty from her diary in 1958 focuses on the day her grandfather Elias announced he would step down as president of the Roottree Candy Company and the meeting to determine his successor. I wish I had been a fly on the wall today. Clancy told me that everyone got quite heated. Granted was furious none of his sons would take over as president, but that's what he gets for holding onto it for so long. With architects, preachers and lawyers, nobody's got time for candy. So if the 5 pieces refusing to step up, it came down to us next-gens. Pop argued at length that companies should stay with our branch of the family since we still have the Roottree name. I'm not even sure Clancy would have wanted it, but he's the one who was volunteered. Instead, it ended up going to Zach. That's a new name here. Zach is, before I pin this, let me prepare a new page. This would be something about the company, and we're gonna pin Zach because he will be the second president, not CEO. As we learned, they don't have CEOs, they have presidents. Even though his surname doesn't match the candy, so not Roottree by name, not by blood only. He's the firstborn son of the 5 pieces. Okay, so he's gonna be he's the oldest of all the kids, and that makes sense because the first kid of Elias was a daughter, so she would have had a different name and her kids would have had a different surname. I asked Clancy if it ever came up that a woman could take over. After all, Angie's older than Zach, but I'm the oldest of us all. But he just laughed. Okay, so we know that Lauren is the oldest. Now when she's talking about Clancy here, she's talking about her brother. Yeah. I'll never forget the cuss word Pop used when he told Ma it wouldn't go to us. Mother ever the quick-witted, at least with catty remarks, countered back. Maybe they wanted it to go to the only member of the family who looks like he samples the product. Is she calling someone fat? Is that what it is? Okay, next page. The entry entitled Sam from Lauren Rootree's diary, written in 1963. You learn that Elias Roottree had given in to his wife's and announced that Sam, an obscure relative, was to be included in family gatherings. Gwyneth has been pushing to include Sam for quite some time, Lauren writes. Why Sam? I have many distant relatives I've never met. After all, Granny had sisters and Grandad had a brother or two, but I was told trim their branches from the family tree. So why is Sam special? Nothing adds up. Am I not the only one to realize? Angie summoned all the next gens to a secret meeting in Zach's office. Gwen's in Paris, but the rest of us, including Miracle's boys, spent ages trying to unravel the mystery. None of us had ever even met Sam until Uncle Junior's wedding to Patsy last year. At the reception, when I asked who Sam was, Pop shushed me and said it was complicated. Did someone have like an illegitimate child or something? Clancy swore he saw Sam working alongside the farmhands, Easy and John, when he used to drive past the old Anderson farm on his way to work. Upon hearing that, Zach checked the records and managed to confirm all three are on the books. Ellie, Miracle's youngest, not my brother, even chimed in. Apparently he was riding his mini bike alongside the farm a few weeks ago. Sam gave him some old tools that taught him how to make the bike's engine faster. None of us think that proper for a multitude of reasons, but Ellie certainly seems thrilled. At the end of the day, nothing explains why an outsider has caused it into the family affairs, especially one who works on the farm of all places. Whatever happened to blood is thicker than syrup? Why is Grandad making an exception now? Yeah, why is Grandad making an exception? Did he acquire some additional children that no one knew about officially? Grandad, what were you up to? One of the final entries called Clark from Roland Roottree Diary in 1964. Clark's getting married and, in my opinion, far too young. He's barely 18 for God's sake, and Danielle isn't much older. Okay, so Clark gets married to Danielle. Now, there were like lots of names in the other notes, and yes, I will need to get to them all. But I'm trying to like stay on course for this one main thread, and once I've got her down and like her son and whatever, I can start seeing what's the most lucrative next thread to go on, and hopefully I will remember to return to all of this and get all the pieces together, because there was lots of like who's related to who, in what way. Clyde, correct, the rest of his generation is a free spirit. What else do you call a group of kids growing up with more money than any one person can spend? They all aspire to be musicians and artists and dancers and all sorts of nonsense. The only hand who had any discipline is Clark, but that's because Pop forced Clancy to send him to the academy. Maybe I'm just getting old, but our generation was never so bad. My brothers all seemed to pursue paths of knowledge, and the most rebellious thing any of us ever did was bring home someone who would be illegal to marry if we lived anywhere south of Pennsylvania. Pop seems to have gotten over it because Edward is set to take over his department once he's retired. Yeah, you know, kids these days, always just terrible, doing terrible things, not being like their parents. But also this bit. Now, my knowledge of American law and history of law is so, but knowing what I know and like what people say about the South of America, I assume this might be to do with their ethnicity. Like, I know they've had a bunch of laws about segregation, that's the word, right? So likely you're not allowed to marry someone who isn't white at the time. That might be clue to someone's appearance, like down the line. Obviously the children would be mixed race. I assume that's what this is. As for me, my first published book, Swashbuckle My Heart, is based on the pirate stories I used to invent with Jacob when we were walking in the woods after school. I think he would be proud that Clark and I are carrying on his name. Even my cousins are doing well. Zach's not a bad president after all, and his sister seems to be doing a good job raising her twins. Gwyn is Gwyn, but at least she came out of the divorce with her head held high. She even told us she may come home next year so we can meet her kids. But the free spirits in any other family, they'd all end up on the streets, even Clark. So we have this picture here. This is the 5 pieces. Okay, so this is all the original kids. Famous in our house. Pop even had it framed. It was taken in 1945 to celebrate the move to the new warehouse that Eli Jr. designed. Angie and I both wanted to be in the photo since Miracle was in it, and the 3 of us were all about the same age. We were told only the 5 pieces, which really didn't go over well, to say the least. Eventually, I suppose, to stop the tantrums, they paused us in front of the camera with Mr. Morden, who was there with Aunt Gwendolyn. I found out years later that they never even took a second photo. So we have the picture of the 3 spirits, which is the Carl's generation, and we have the picture of the 5 pieces, and I assume that might be the picture of the next generation here. Yes. Okay. Let's take everyone's faces down. The next generation. An attempt to recapture the spirit of the 5 pieces photo with our generation. For old time's sake, we gathered on the warehouse floors. I wanted Eli to stand all the way on the left, since to me he looked a lot like Pop did in the old one. But I was outvoted by my brothers. They insisted 4 of us stand together, and so we clamped up in the middle and let everyone filter in behind and in front of us. The only one too good to make an appearance was Gwen. Yes, we had the separate photo of Gwen from Paris. Grandma insisted we include Sam even if we didn't want to. None of us understood why, including Sam. I also didn't think it fair Miracle made it in, since he's technically a 5-piece. I guess my inner child still holds a grudge even all these years. So now we have lots of pictures, lots of names, lots of everything. Okay, so we should be able to start tracking down where Lauren is. Now I thought it would help that she was the oldest, but no, because she's in the next generations, which means they're oldest to youngest under their parents, but they're not necessarily oldest to youngest across the board, right? Because their parents are oldest to youngest. But there was information about her having 3 brothers, so I think the only place she can fit is here. Plus, and yes, she's marked as notable here, so that the only choice would be here and here. But because of the brothers, this must be hair. So that's Lauren, and we do have her picture. So as for her occupation, obviously she was complaining about being a housewife, but it says most recent occupation, and therefore she was an author, right? Her books were being published. So now what was her husband's name? Yes, her husband Jacob. Okay, so the pinning does help because you have quick access to the document you pinned it from. Okay, we have Jacob Rafferty. That's the only one. And he's this guy from the book, and she's this one in the picture, and her son's name is Clark. Yep, makes sense that he's Rafferty, but we don't know what his job was, right? She talks about him getting named and something, but and he's married Danielle. Right, it just talks about them wanting to like be artists and dancers and whatever, but it doesn't actually says what job he did have. Okay, and it looks like he went through multiple wives and children with 2 of them, so that's gonna be F1 want to untangle. We probably have a picture of him from the group pictures, but I don't yet know which one he's going to be. Now we do know something about Gwyn's... Yeah, Gwyn's mother is called Margot. Yeah, Margot. It's now... It talked about that Gwyn was like the first one to not be a housewife. Yes, she's the first Roottree woman to be anything other than a housewife. And I am jealous. Yeah, so we can probably assume that unless something specific happened in the 5 pieces, any woman can be marked as a housewife. But after that, yeah, we have to find more information. Now, did she potentially marry this other guy that was named in... Yep, some VHS, not very organized site. Will Bill Williams was the leading man of some non-notable movies in the 1950s. He appeared in an adventure movie called Fortune Favors the Grave, which has yet to be released for home audiences. You don't find any additional information about the film. He was known for his good looks and off-screen romances, especially with blondes. He was married 4 different times to 4 different actresses. There's a famous Hollywood rumor that he's even approached Marilyn Monroe at a party, that she was already aware of his reputation. Oh, he grew up in Paris. He returned there after. Okay, so he is a potential for the husband of Gwyn. Where do we want to put this? Let's just put Gwyn here. He's the potential for husband of Gwyn because he was, well, they were in proximity and he was related to Paris, and Gwyn was there in Paris with her boys, so... Okay, so we still have the last of the notables to look up here, and so we can potentially fill that last spot. So let's go from Miracle Jr., presumably child of Miracle Sr. Miracle Jr. doesn't go by his full name in promotional materials, instead he has shortened it to Miracle Jr. Miracle Jr. is a televangelist who is part of the Miracle Network. Okay, let's pin that. He used to have a show that aired on the local access across many stations in the northeastern United States. According to a website called Clergy Watch, he was exposed and subsequently charged with conspiracy to defraud the public in 1979 when he claimed to steal someone in a wheelchair. A news expose revealed it was his wife, Edith's sister in disguise. The author also mentions that Edith had a bit of a checkered past herself, but doesn't qualify. Oh, okay, this is... Yeah, I mean, they're televangelists. I've not heard good things. He has since lost his television show and instead goes on tours across the southern United States, where he was not well known before the scandal. Okay, so... Well, let's look this Miracle Network up. Okay, we get printing. Printing sounds are good sounds in this game, means we found things. It's a production company run by the Miracle Roottrees estate. It's quite bare bones, but has the following blurb. Witness the testimonies of Miracle's Roottree. Miracle Roottree arrived so late in his mother's life that doctors swore he wouldn't survive his first year. His mother and father, Elias and Gwyneth, named him Miracle because they thought him impossible. He was younger than his brothers and sisters, over 14 years. Okay, so we know that Miracle will be the last of the 4 pieces. Okay, well, I am blind and apparently you can reorder the notes once you've written them. So yeah, if you write them at the bottom of the page, you can just move them about. I'm learning. With a birth this late, the final child of his generation was nearly torn apart by countless health problems, but still, with the power of God on his side, he persevered. He triumphed over these complications and even regained his sight to spread the healing word of the Almighty. 23 later, Miracle Roottree Jr. arrived and became the famous family's second vessel of the higher power. I mean, he unburdened himself from the Roottree name and took his father's testimony to a whole new level. By the power of television, Miracle Jr. spread the gospel across the entirety of New England. He has since left a life of glamour and glitz behind to reach those places that didn't post, to reach the places that didn't read his criminal history. The power of the Lord coming to a town near you. Okay, so I guess he's not the favorite of the family, maybe. Witness the power of the Lord in the summer 96 3 Generations of Miracles tour, featuring testimony from world famous Miracle Jr. and a special appearance from Miracle Roottree in his 68th year of God's Earth. Children now welcome. Celebrate with your pastor. Miracle Third and his wife Nicole. Okay, so there's a whole line of people called Miracle, so I guess that is him. And that may be Miracle the Third here. Okay, so we have Miracle Third and his wife Nicole. Yeah, I'm getting better with this journal. I know I said like I'm not sure how useful it is, but now that I'm learning the interface more, I see how it lets us quickly access different pieces without having to click through go to the right part of the game and then find the right document. So we have Miracle here, and he was like the child on the original 5 pieces picture, this one. And yeah, and he's got an eye patch then because he had issues with his sight. Yeah, so we have Roottree Miracle, and then we have Miracle Jr. And then we have Miracle the Third and his wife Nicole. Okay, there's 2 Nicoles, so we can't yet confirm that one. Now what is tele-evangelist not a job? Okay, well, what kind of job could they be having? Preacher? I guess preacher makes sense. Preacher as well. And then it said a youth pastor, but yeah, I'm not, it might just be, yeah, it's just a preacher again. So if he was the youngest and then he had that kid at 23, it's possible that in his thing, his kid is also the youngest. This is the Free Spirits, so that's not it. It's the next generation we're looking for. Yeah, so that's him because he's wearing that rainbow tie he has in the poster as well, so presumably this is his kid, Miracle the Third. Oh yeah, so that's him here, and there are additional pictures of him in that poster, and that's his, yeah. Okay. We've got a bunch of optional entries. We've locked Lauren, Miracle, and Miracle the Third. Not Miracle Jr. He's not done yet. Booyah! Cracks me up. Not sure it's because it's wrong or just that's how it picked the order of them. And I mean, that's also a picture of him. Like, I don't know if I need to change this at all. Not sure it mentions a sibling right now for Miracle. Okay, we need to find a new thread to pull on. Probably need to shake it out from some of the things we've seen already. It's just that, yes, it goes from like, oh, there's one quite clear piece of information to there is just about anything, like, 5 names on the page, everyone's cousin, something's going on. Okay, I think we should have more about the 5 pieces. Like, we know something about them, we know about the orders, like, we know this is the Marglite. And actually, if she's in the 5 pieces, and it talked about her being blonde, same as Gwyn, so this is a blonde lady in the 5 pieces here. So that's likely her. So Lauren refers to her father as Pop, and if we go to the picture of the 5 pieces, so obviously her father is one of the 5 pieces, so it chooses 2 men. But I think on this picture it says, yeah, I want Eli to stand all the way to the left since it looked a lot like Pop did in the old one. So that means her father is on the left side on this picture. So that's her father here. So we can add him from that picture here. Now, what is his name? I'm sure it's buried somewhere in there, like there. Now, by that logic, this leaves this guy to be Eli Jr., but we don't know which of the kids he is, and they're clearly not standing in age order. Okay, it also talks about Aunt Gwendolyn, which, if we're saying that's Marglite, then Gwendolyn would be this one. But again, without having knowing where she's in order, we can't attach that picture to anything yet. But actually looking at it now, we know that the first child was a daughter, and we know this is in age order, so actually we should be able to now tell Gwendolyn Roottrees, right? Because she's actually their daughter. And her occupation would be housewife, because we notice that, yeah, until Gwyn, they were all housewives. And that just quickly confirms, before I was even expecting it to. Okay, we've got all the notables done. So yes, we have Roottree, Marguerite, Miracle Jr., and Gwendolyn. But we didn't get any we didn't get any optional entries. Booyah!
You're listening to WRTG. It's time for your headlines. Once an hour, every hour, on the 45. It's a bizarre development to an already tragic tale. In the wake of the accident that took his life, some of Carl Roottree's belongings have apparently gone missing. Most notably, a framed photo of the Roottree family from the mid-1970s that Carl had on his office wall. We interviewed a local psychologist about who would do such a thing and why. For that article, search online for WRTD News. Again, that's WRTD.
So there's been a strange lady coming into my house and giving me things. Could she have been ransacking the office? WRTD, is that what it was? WRTD News is your local investigative jazz radio station. During their news segments at 45 minutes on the hour, they have been talking about the plane crash. The most recent hour, they have talked about a picture taken from Carl's office after the plane crash and promised an interview online for a psychologist. During the interview, it's revealed there wasn't a break-in. Instead, someone with a key to the office took the picture after discovering the pipes burst due to the recent storm. This means it was likely someone close to the family who was aware of the photo's history and wanted to save it. The psychologist, however, also goes on to posit the culprit had an alternative agenda, specifically because nobody in the family has come forward to say they have it in their possession. A comment below the article says, "Don't believe their lies. This is just another instance of the Roottree curse being real, true thing. I bet you Carl was murdered and the picture has evidence on it." Now, okay, again, a weird lady has been coming to my house and giving me things she took from Carl's office. Am I getting arrested as an accomplice to whatever she's been doing? Like, hello? But also, a Roottree curse. What could that be? I guess we'll have to investigate more next time